It's like you're a fucking magician.
Yeah, I'll fuck this up. Well, good. Here we go.
Hi, this is Ickis from Our Real Monsters. And I would like very much to ask you, if you don't mind, to watch the USUK network with Tom, Bruno, and Alex. Wait. Oh, that's all. I have to go flush myself now.
Yeah, yeah, that'll do. I was going to go for the Billy West one. I was like, where the fuck the Billy West one? And I don't.
You shouldn't. If you have done that, I would have cried in the first 3 seconds of the show. But like, I'm sorry, I need a minute to digest.
Oh, that Alex Widely. He's such a silly bastard. How you been, man? You all right?
Good. I'm all right. Fucking, how you been, buddy?
Good, man. Tired. I said to Kaz, as we were about to do this, I was like, I think this is probably the first weekend me and Bruno could probably look at each other's weekends and go, actually, do you know what? It's quite busy. Like, we can both appreciate how busy we are this weekend because we haven't stopped, have we? Jesus Christ.
No, I didn't even know you were doing anything today until I saw your pictures. Like, he's doing what today? He's at a fucking castle? Where's he going?
Yeah, we went to Powys Castle in Wales, just over the Welsh border, and I'd never been there before. And it was quite nice actually because Kaz was like, "Oh yeah, the castle's not open." I was like, I was like, "So we're going to go to the castle?" It's not. Oh yeah, you can go for the grounds and go for the gardens and stuff, but yeah, the castle's not open. So I was like, "Okay." So we went there and I recorded bits of live, but it didn't really work very well. It was a bit grainy and stuff, signal stuff. Like fucking Wales, man. They got sheep and fucking.
Running on wheels,
fucking Wi-Fi.
Power the Wi-Fi.
Well,
like the trolls, the way they open the gates in the Black Gate in Lord of the Rings. That's how their Wi-Fi is, But I went to the guest shop and I spoke to a really interested, she's a very friendly lady. Told me the history of one of the statues that were outside. So I asked her, I was like, "Where's that from?" And she told me.
So aggro. Where's that from? Tell me.
I want to take it with me. It was Boudica.
How much?
And Boudica riding on a Pegasus, and she had a bag of heads with her. Like nice. You see it, it's amazing. So I spoke to her and I was like, "Yo, can I have details for the curator or someone I can speak to? Because when the castle opens back in May, I'd love to turn up there with like Jamie Westwood or TS and just like sit there with the curator, do some castle history talk. I thought that'd be quite cool."
Yeah.
Fucking
A. So yeah, my weekend has not been castles. My weekend has been getting my leg chopped open. That was fun.
Yeah.
I
haven't been able to watch the footage yet. I've started watching it. I was kind of he's drawn the circle, and then they put the injection in. I was kind of like,
a little much.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny because like I was like, "Hey, is this a good idea?" And I asked Ore, our PR person / fucking does everything for us. And she's like, it's a lot of people like that type of stuff. And I was like, all right, cool. And I was like, wait a minute, let's ask Alex. Hey, Alex, I'm going to do this. And I didn't hear a response. So I started getting shitty about it. I was like, I'm going to do this if you don't respond, Alex. Totally am. And then like, and you're like, yeah, dude, go ahead. Do whatever you want. I'm like, fuck. I thought he was going to be the voice of reason. I said, no, Tom, don't record this. This is not one of those good ideas. But I did. And the doctor is really cool about it. He really did not care that I did the whole thing. I try to be respectful, keep it out of his face and stuff. And even when I like got in his hands away, he was like, "Oh no, it's totally fine. Snip, 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 snip." The weird thing is, like, last time I got cut, it wasn't that big. Like, it was just like a little slit, and they just kind of moved a little nodule. This time they really cut me, and like, I don't know if you've ever seen that far down because it's like good.
You're gonna have to cut me, Nikki. Sorry.
it's like a little bit more than a quarter of an inch deep, so you can like really see your muscle, and that got me. Like nothing. I've seen a lot of my own surgeries, and like nothing's ever gotten me before. That got me a tiny bit. I was like, oh, that's my muscle.
Watching it as it's happening, sort of thing. Who was recording you? Yeah, take it. Yeah.
Me. I'm a good documentarian. I can handle the pressure of getting surgically altered while fucking.
What drugs did it give you for that then?
Nothing.
Sort of
a number, lidocaine injection, which contracts the blood vessels so I don't bleed out, and that's it. That's really
the
it.
Sort of stuff they put a dentist puts in your gums. Same sort of thing.
Essentially, I bet you it's like a different chemical composition at that point, but I would argue that it's probably not too different.
So when you walk out of there, your legs are like the guy out of Me, Myself, and Irene. Just
no, actually, like it's just that one area. It's like it's a localized lidocaine thing. So it's like just that one little area. So everything else, I could feel complete. My feet, everything. And up until like midnight, I didn't even feel that. Like all of a sudden, it just started getting really sore. And now it feels like the way that women talk about their facelifts being like really tight. Like I can't smile because my face is so tight. That's how my leg feels. So I'm really like cautious about like over flexing my muscles. I just jumped down 2 stairs, not remembering. And I was like, oh, you're dumb. You're so dumb. Dumb.
Yeah.
But really quick thing about that though.
Go on.
Is I bragged about how I was going to do a couple things. And I have the pictures for the gun shop because I wanted to show you what a gun shop was like in America. So the doctor who cut into me had no problem me filming it all. He was like, yeah, totally, whatever you do. And he's a Futurama fan, by the way. So I was bragging about how we got Billy West on an episode, and he dropped some like Futurama one-liners. And I was like, oh, you really are a fan. You're the best. I love you, doctor. Let's get married. And he had no problem with it. The gun shop had a different opinion about.
So how did this? Oh, okay. Let's role play this. Okay, I'm you. Okay, I'm Tom Bruno.
Yes.
Hey, buddy. How's it going? I got to buy a shop. Do you mind if I record for my podcast?
No.
Literally, just...
No, like literally, he's like, I prefer if you don't. I asked for the owner. I was like, hey, is the owner here? He's like, yep, that gentleman over there. I was like, hey, so my name's Tom Bruno. I had the website pulled up and everything. I was getting ready to show him, like, this is who I am. This is what I do. And it's not like I'm trying to catch you or anything. It's not like I'm going to show anything shady because they don't, they're gun store. There's nothing shady about them. Like it has to be 100% on board or they get shut down. Like the guns, are, dangerous, I guess, or something. I don't know. And so everything's on board. But because it's a private, business, it's not public. Like it's private. They can choose their clientele, all sorts of shit. I'm not like allowed the same guarantees that I would be if I went to a park and just tried recording. So when they said no, I was like, oh, but I'm just trying to do this. And he's like, no, I prefer if you didn't. And I really wanted to buy a gun, so I didn't push it any farther than that. I was like, okay, fair enough. And I put my camera away. But then I was like,
they can't say no to you buying a gun because they think you're an asshole, right?
No, they wanted my money, bro. They sold me the gun and they let me take. I did get them to say yes to that. I was like, hey, okay, so no live video. I get it. You have clients in here that might not want the footage, whatever the fuck ever. You don't want me to get your register numbers. I don't know what it is, but can I take some pictures? I know that people bring their phones in here. He's like, yeah, sure. If you want to take some pictures, go ahead. I was like, all right, cool. So I grabbed pictures of the racks and like a couple of the things and like how the atmosphere. It's a weird business, dude. Like they have like this completely cement building and it's downstairs type of thing. I'm guessing to try to thwart criminals and whatnot, but it looks like a bomb shelter of sorts, and they sell guns out of it.
Yeah, I would have loved. I genuinely would have liked to have seen the process because I always, I always wonder what it's like buying a gun. Whether it's like really nerve wracking, whether you don't want to say the wrong thing. What do you want to buy a gun for, buddy? Mass destruction, man. I want to shoot every fucking thing.
They'd still say you a gun. They would love it if he said, they'd be like, right on, brother. You want an AK-47 for that. Here are the things they don't like. They had a sign on the door, which I felt really hated against. I felt like they were really going against me. They're like, if you smell like weed, we're not going to sell you a gun. I'm like, hey, I don't smell like weed right now. But they still sold me a gun anyways. Even though, I also knew this going in. I'm like, they probably won't like me if I reek of pot going in and try to buy a gun. So, no, but it's like buying a car, man. Like without the debating, without the negotiation, there's no negotiation involved in it. It's literally just, buy the gun.
If you're wondering why I'm kind of hard, I am listening to Tom, but I'm making some.
I know you are.
We're about to speak to a proper, intelligent, clever lady in a second. We're going to be joined.
So I'll be leaving in like 5 seconds, so then you can carry on this.
I did my research yesterday and today about who we're speaking to, and how timely is it that we're speaking to Dr. Celina Nadelman, who's one of the leading cancer biopsy doctors in Beverly Hills.
It's very timely. In fact, it's so timely that it's like just something yesterday happened where I could have used her expertise. And also, it'd be nice. It'll be nice to ask her, be like, hey, so what do you think about positive thinking to heal your body?
Let's not do that. Okay.
Fair enough. I'm glad you said something now instead of letting me get into it because I really wanted to.
Shit! I've pressed some. Oh shit! This is YouTube. Let's not do that. My internet's struggling. My internet's been really struggling. I mean, the Weekly Bazaar last night was just crazy because it was like my last Weekly Bazaar, which is great.
Yes,
fun.
Mazel
It was
tov.
It was. Thank you. But my internet was all over the place. But we had such a great time. But I did something else this week, Tom.
Sex change?
No, it wasn't this week. It was, this week just gone. Yes, a sex change. Yes, nice. You can call me Alexa right now. Might be confusing in a room full of,
it really will. Alexa, get me some drinks, and you're like,
Alexa, suck my dick.
I mean, so I guess I am a chick now.
Okay, all right.
$5.
I did my first radio show. Naughty Talk.
I know you did. Congratulations, Naughty Talk with Alex Wiley.
Thank
you. Whose bumpers did you use? Whose buffers did you use? Mine.
I used all of them.
Use mine.
Every single one that I got, I used. Yes, I used yours.
Nice.
I used Eric's. I used Jamie's.
What a prick he is, by the way. I'm sitting there trying to do my meager voices, and he's like, "Hold on, watch my big Morgan Freeman dick here," and just drop something. I'm like, "Great."
You're listening to. I can't even do it, man. He drops it down. He proper drops it down.
So fall.
It was fine. I really enjoyed it. Actually, I had the time of my life. It's something. Imagine being able to record a podcast and then being able to just having a party at the same time, just listen to great tunes and dance around. And Kaz put up this gif, like some guy dancing like at the desk, and she was like, "That's you." I was like, "Yeah, that's me."
Yeah, I'm having a good time. Kaz, leave me alone, man. I'm having a good time by myself.
And Jamie did this liner for me that said. My jeepers, you better not play some Nickelback. And there was a great. I did it, timed it perfectly. I played that liner, left a bit of a gap, and then went into Nickelback. It was good. Nice. Never Again as well.
Which Nickelback song?
Never Again. Never again.
Yeah, it's a good song, dude. Did it before, but not like this. Yeah, it's good Nickelback. Dude, Silver Side Up. I will argue to death that is a pretty good fucking rock album, dude. Canadian.
It's one of the best albums that been released. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna beat around the bush. It's one of the best albums out there.
Speaking of great albums, which has nothing to do with an album, did you see Mortal Kombat?
No, I'm debating whether to watch it with my 13-year-old daughter tonight. Whether she, I don't know, maybe.
It's gory as fuck. Oh yeah, it's excellent. I loved it so much. And then Shona got her second dose of COVID vaccine yesterday, and so she was like having like body shakes and shit all night. And she's like, "I'm going to bed," and I was like, "Well, I'm gonna finish this movie. So I know you're not feeling good. And it's not really your fault, but I'm gonna finish this movie."
Well, fuck you. And enjoy it.
Kind of. You go die upstairs quietly, please. I'm trying to watch fucking Kano, which like Brucey Bruce, one of our good fans, Brucey Bruce. He didn't seem to like it that much. And I was like, dude, it's an action film. What's not to like about it? It was tons of blood, fighting, fucking Mortal Kombat characters. They really kind of stuck like pretty closely to the lore. I thought it was very well serviced.
Well, I haven't seen it yet, so let's not do any spoilers. But I'm going to try and watch. I don't know. I don't think I'm going to be able to get it away with it. I might have to.
I mean, like you can always put it on your phone and like be like, "I'm totally paying attention to you and what you're doing, honey." And just fucking kick him in the balls.
I've already bored her ass to death by taking her to a bloody castle today. No, she enjoyed it. She really did enjoy it.
No, she didn't. I would though. I'm a much better child to you than your other children because I would enjoy that as an adult.
But we grew up with that though, didn't we? I mean, like Lily, she's 13. She's from a different generation. I could be like, "Here's Mortal Kombat," and she'd be like, "It's just grotesque violence, weird characters. Who's that guy with the forearms? I don't know. Well, okay, whatever. Why are you crying when he says, 'Come over here, get over here'? Why are you crying at that, Dad? You have no idea. You weren't there."
Is your new vagina menstruating, Dad? What's wrong? Fucking Alexa Sanchez.
I am looking forward to see it. But I did see yesterday, I saw the last episode of Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Not going to drop any spoilers yet because I nearly did, just with the name itself. But you need. How far into that are you? Episode 1.
I've seen one. Once again, this is why when Sheldon was like, I thought you were going to wait to watch it with me. I was like, Mortal Kombat. I was like, no, because we're still in episode 1 of Falcon Winter Soldier. And it's all because, you rather watch fucking Dancing Moms on your fucking phone than watch a good show with me.
Your wife is cuckolding the podcast, okay? She's like, you can wait.
It's our time. I'm like,
this is Rick and Morty all over again. I was like, please watch Rick and Morty. Please watch Rick and Morty. Please watch Rick and Morty. Watch Rick and Morty. Now all we talk about is Rick and Morty. So
yeah. Oh yeah. Speaking of that, you should have taken your old lady's last name anyways. Then you could have been related to Rick. Be like, do the Rick dance.
The infinite, the infinite owl. I'm the infinite owl, and it's all these podcasts like,
dude, the infinite podcasting. Except that one version of you that doesn't like podcasting at all. He's an OnlyFans star. He's like, what? I'm rich. Look at my dick.
But yeah, well, next week, whether you've seen it or not, we'll go into a full spoiler chat with Falcon and Winter Soldier. Give yourself a bit of time, and spoil yourself with a bit of that. But I see that nice t-shirt you got there, by the way.
Oh, thank you. It's mine.
I love that.
Well, because the new one's coming out soon, and I want to get on the bandwagon before people get on the bandwagon.
I don't play with it. You're not allowed to touch it.
We sound like Jesus.
Stop fingering your hole.
I'm not fingering my hole. I got this it itches, okay? It's starting to heal a tiny bit, and it itches like crazy. They gave me like 6 internal stitches that itches, and it's fucking with me. It's driving
Unless you want to end up with a cone of shame on your leg.
I could reach under the cone, Alex. I'm a fucking human. I have opposable thumbs that I can just work my way under it.
Bite your stitches out like...
I'll look like a 13-year-old trying to fucking work my way up a dress. Be like, get up there. Where's the fucking vagina?
But yeah, it has been a busy week. It's been incredibly busy. In fact, I've had to schedule life in between everything. It's been one of the busiest weeks I've had in a long time. I've neglected an awful lot when it comes to sort of planning things with the podcasts. I mean, it's just building the infrastructure behind the web, the radio show, which I don't have to do anymore because that's the whole point of infrastructure. It's there now. So it's just a case of adding to it a little bit, putting my playlist together, writing a few lines. Kaz came in, she was like, have you written down things to say? And I was like, no. And she was like, okay. And she just backed out the room. I was like, what the fuck?
He's going to go mental in 5 seconds. Get away from him, Timmy. He's going to start throwing his computer.
I mean, that's what DJs do, though, right? They just talk bollocks. Like, have you been to a wedding when they're like, yeah, shout out to the lady in the yellow dress. Got some nice shoes on there. Nice clobber, looking great. By the way, the buffet is open in 30 minutes. Thank you.
That's excellent. That sounds like a great wedding. I want to go to that wedding. Then none of them have buffets anymore. Now they're like, we're going to serve you a single piece of fish with like asparagus, and we're going to punch you in the face on our way out. So have a good day. 4 stars.
This is Killers with Mr. Brightside for you, Sandra. Thank you for letting me listen to that for the 1000th time this week. Thank you.
Next one that says YMCA will be in fact punched right in their kidneys by me.
Here we go with the cha-cha slide, guys. Get in there.
What? Okay, so that sounds different. So is the YMCA a popular like wedding song over there?
Oh yeah, YMCA, cha-cha slide, Last Ketchup.
The what?
Hey, hey, yeah, they got the standard wedding songs. There's always got to be YMCA. It's always got to be the cha-cha slide or the salt and pepper dance that people sit on the floor and do that shit. Fuck that.
The dance is made for people that can't get out of their wheelchairs. They're like, here's a dance for you, Mr. Cripple.
What I liked about it though is I did this segment on the show called Song of the Week. It's a very generic thing to do, but switched all the backing music off and read out my thing about the song and went into it. And that's probably one of the best parts of the show. I've listened back to it once, the show, sort of critiquing myself, making sort of mental notes on what to do and what not to do.
Okay.
But Steve, the gaffer from Splash Damage wrote to me yesterday, email. He was like, "Thank you so much." He's like, "They were great figures. Welcome to the station. Nice. You got listeners in Ireland, in Canada, in America, in the UK. And they were really good. It's really good for their station." So I was like, "Oh, thank you." So very positive.
Next time you do a breakdown, can I recommend either Alien Ant Farms movies or Stained? What's that song? No, fuck that song. That song's stupid. Not The Outside, because that's even though these are the outside, I'm looking in. Sounds like a Peeping Tom song, right? They're like, I'm checking you, changing, seeing your underwear.
What's rubbing my foreskin?
It just came on your screen. It's pretty gross. I hope they can't take DNA evidence from it. I don't remember that version.
On your iPad.
To my mother, to my father, it's your son, or it's your daughter. Yeah, it's a good song.
Yeah, well, I'll take suggestions. What we're going to do with it, though, Ryan Berger was actually listening and throwing in comments, and Julie Fox, my mom, was listening, and my mom's gonna, and she said she was dancing around the kitchen and stuff before she went to work, which was nice. But I like to.
She does that anyways because she's a witch. You forget these things, Alex. She was probably dancing for good luck for you. All of a sudden, like all the ratings came in because your mom was listening and doing witchcraft for you
while she's stirring a broth.
Yeah. Bubble, toil and trouble and shit.
More children's fingers for the broth. Hair of Lucifer.
Oh, that'd be dope. I wonder how much hair of Lucifer costs on the open market. It must be kind of expensive. Oh, the most potent of ingredients to any good potion.
Oh God, yeah. So it's been a learning curve. I did plain white teas with Hey There Delilah. That's what was my song of the week. Yeah.
That was your song of the week?
Right, okay, so this is the journey I'm going through right now. I am now looking at Naughty's music. I'm listening to like playlists. I'm looking, and I found Hey There Delilah, and I completely fucking forgot it existed. I was kind of like, oh my God, what a tune this was. So I was like, there's my song of the week. It's a song that shocked me because I forgot it existed. And it was just nice. People were writing comments. And... All right. So I wrote this, right? What?
Yes. No, I was going to say I stand by that then because I thought you were just doing... Like, I remember the first time I kissed Kaz to Hey There Delilah. It is just so good. Yeah, but if it's due to the fact that you forgot it even existed, I can support that because fuck that song.
So what the idea is, right? I stop the music and I have this write out. I've got to read as quick as possible and that's it, and play the song. So I'll put Song of the Week. The band hails from the US, Lombard in Illinois, to be exact. They were formed in 1997. The band has had many changes over the years. However, the frontman has never changed, Tom Higginson. Tom Higginson actually broke his back in a car accident in 1999 and had to learn to walk again. Fun fact. The song was written about an American long-distance runner. The song was released in May 2006 as the third single from an album called All That We Need and went to number 1 in all the charts. The long-distance runner was Delilah DeCrescenzo. The band are Plain White Tees, and this is Hey There Delilah. And bam, straight into the song. I was like, Whiteley's in the fucking house. He did it. I'm a fucking DJ. Suck my dick. Thank you very much. I didn't say that on the mic, but...
Why not? I think that would have been hilarious if you would have like done one of those DJ bloopers where you left the mic on. Like, yeah, suck my dick, motherfucker. And all of a sudden, like, oh shit, it's still on. And like, listen, Alex, it was the highest rated segment we've ever had in our lives. You just need to scream at your fans and tell them that they suck and stuff.
I'd be like, fuck Splash Damage, BBC Next. Steve listening like, did he just say fuck Splash Damage on the live in front of him?
That motherfucker! Start smashing your fucking mic around like it's a guitar, like at the Who or some shit. You're just like, kicking stuff over. Keith Moon style.
By the way, I found an American accent that I just absolutely adore. Watching that Bar Rescue that I'm enjoying. Massachusetts. Yeah, they sound like they're like a little bit, do you know, I gotta, Mama, I need to go to the party. Can you teach me to go? Is that a good Massachusetts accent? Because they sound like...
it's not bad.
The children that need a little bit of help, you know, help. It's very brilliant. And that's not me knocking. If anybody's listening from Massachusetts, by the way, I love that accent. It's so good.
Okay, so the drummer from Metallica is very Boston. So listen to some of his interviews, and you'll get the Boston accent like you wouldn't believe. Be like, yeah, fuck what's hot. You are. So yeah, that's look at that. Fucking one of us is a DJ, one of us is an asshole. I like it.
I got to they're speaking to the guy that started Samuel Adams, the beer.
Oh,
Adams. On that show.
Sam Adams.
So I feel like we should get someone like that on the show.
What, a beer maker?
Yeah, I mean, I know we're friends with Woods. We haven't really done anything with him, but I didn't want to add pressure onto that already disgusting year that they probably already had. But I feel like we should get a beer producer from the US and a beer producer from the UK. And
can I get a mead maker? I like mead or scotch.
Yeah, let's do that. Let's just do a full, pure alcohol-based episode. Like,
nice.
Get fucked up.
Fucking all the good alcohols. Fucking cooking sherry, vanilla extract, rubbing, all the good alcohols.
I said to Kaz, like, can I drink aguardiente with Pepsi? And she was like, no, you can't do that. Like all the Colombian aguardiente is like a watered down sambuca, but that is their drink of choice in Colombia. And you do shots and drink water. So you got a big glass of water, you do a shot, and you drink water, or you can sip it, whatever. And because you're drinking it with water, you do get fucked up like normal, but because you're drinking it with water, the next day there's no hangover at all.
Oh, right.
Tested by Whiteley, and it worked as well. I was kind of like, oh, toodly pip, let's go for a walk around Bogota.
So is it essentially done just like that for less hangover, or is it doing it because water opens up the taste of alcohol?
I don't know. All I know is they told me to do it. I did it. It worked. And I was like, okay.
And then Kaz's uncle told me to suck his dick, and I did it because he told me to.
But we don't talk about that.
No, we don't want to talk about that. Those are blessed wedding memories, and we can't bring them up right now. They would make people sad. Speaking of sad, fucking, I had nowhere to go with that. Do you know what people love talking about? Remember last week we were talking about how nostalgia might be sad in theory. I find that to be completely different. I posted a picture of PlayStation, and everyone's kind of like chiming in with their favorite games. Nobody seems sad about it. Everyone seems kind of happy. I think it's interpretation, right?
I feel like he's got a point though. I feel like when we spoke to
he had a very valid point. I'm not saying that his point's not valid. I'm saying that like that's definitely one way to look at it. But like in every instance I've ever come across when it's dealing with nostalgia, it's always positive. I don't know.
I feel like you can't have a definitive. It is this or it is that. It is a mixture of everything. Nostalgia is. It is a longing to go back there. You miss that era because, like those times when we were watching stuff, playing the PlayStation at that for us at that stage. We had no bills. We had no responsibilities. We could sit in our bedroom mixed amongst filth if we wanted to, if you could get away with that. We could go out and find your girlfriend and hang around with her nervously. And that's not nostalgia is. So, yeah, I mean, well, our guest has arrived. So let's bring her into the mix. Here we go. This is Dr. Celina Nadelman. Hello.
Hi.
Hello.
Go in.
Hi.
I hope you don't mind us just throwing you into the show, by the way, because
of course not.
That's our new way of doing it.
It is.
Ben Fuchs, who was on the show last week, was kind of like, I wasn't ready. Hi.
No worries.
Thank you for joining us on the show.
Yes.
Thank you for having me.
So should we do the show? Yeah, do the show.
Hey guys, welcome to What's the Difference podcast. I'm Alex Whiteley.
And I'm Tom Bruno.
And today, yes, we're going to be speaking to Dr. Celina Nadelman. Is that right?
Nadelman, exactly. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Whiteley for the win. There we go. How's it go?
Whiteley for the win.
Right.
Don't say that too loud.
Right. Celina, you coming on the show couldn't have happened at a better time, believe it or not, because you are one of the leading biopsy doctors in Beverley Hills.
Yes.
And Tom Bruno just yesterday had a tumour removed from his leg. Oh, look at that.
Yeah, I totally did. I actually posted a video of it on our fan page, which was supported by everyone that has common sense. Like I thought I was just going to do it because I was like, "Hey guys, I'm going to do this," and I'd be talked down by much, lighter heads than my own. They would prevail, but they didn't. They're like, "Yeah, that's a good idea." I was like, "Is it?" I don't know. It hasn't been taken down yet, but I got a benign tumor removed from my leg, and it's the second attempt they've made at it. The first attempt, the doctor was like, I'm not guaranteeing I got it all because he didn't want to open it up too much and he couldn't see everything. He's like, I don't feel any lump. It seems like everything got taken out. He's like, but if it comes back, obviously we'll have to take another whack at it. The doctor that did it yesterday, he definitely got it. He opened a big old cat's eye on my leg, which was, very, very cool. And then he cauterized it with this awesome like electricity or whatever it was. And I was like, wow, that's where we're at. We don't use leeches anymore.
They didn't stitch it if it's big?
They did. They stitched as well. They did like 3 internal stitches and a couple external stitches. And by the way, they actually do use leeches on some things still. I found out they're medicinal leeches and they're completely sterile from what I understand. Is that true? Was he pulling my leg?
Well, I don't know. Did you have leeches on your leg?
No. He's saying that there's some instances where leeches are used still, like not that.
Well, because they use. Well, I know that they have a material in them that can ease the blood and makes the blood thinner. So it helps, I guess, prevent clotting when they're doing something, but I really don't know anything about it.
I'm gonna go with he was full of crap and he was pulling my leg. He's like, let's mess with the guy that I'm cutting into him because he's recording me do my work.
I know they use I think they're called blowfly larvae for wounds that don't heal because the larvae just eat away dead tissue so that only clean live tissue, and then once they grow up they fly away, but people are too grossed out to use them, so I don't know how often they're using them now, but they're very good at eating away dead tissue.
I have heard that they're good at eating necros flesh. I've seen videos of it actually working. Like the skin looks amazing once they're done, so it's strange that we're provided with this really great way to kind of take care of a problem that can affect people naturally at that without putting anything else crazy into our bodies, and yet people are like, ew, larva, I don't like it, and they just won't do it. It's like can you bring the machine that'll just saw it all off?
Well, science has gone a long way since then. You're not going to get a Renaissance doctor walking and be like, hello, we're now here to put these beasts inside you to get rid of the curse of the it's
well, we're kind of we are kind of going through another plague, the COVID-19. And I don't know if you look back at some of the costumes or the things that they wear during Carnival, the big beak kind of things. Those were actually masks that they wore, like the doctors wore, so that they wouldn't get infected from the patients who had the plague. Yes. So we're kind of wearing masks, similar, I don't know if maybe in a couple of 100 years, people will be wearing costumes, wearing masks.
That'd be dope.
Maybe.
I mean, I'll do it right now just for funsies. I'll start wearing the plague mask and be like, listen, it's awesome looking. I put potpourri at the end of it so everything smells delicious. I mean, no lose situation.
It was a weird situation I had the other day. I took my little boy to taekwondo lessons. Big open sports hall, right? Things are starting to slowly relax in the UK a bit more now. And the guy's like, you don't need to wear your mask. It's fine. You're open. You're spaced out. As long as you social distance, you're fine. Because it was a ventilated sports hall. And I was kind of like, are you trying to trick me? I feel weird about this. I'm going to put it on anyway. So it was just a weird scenario right now. Psychologically, I feel like we've all been reprogrammed. And it's going to take a while for us to go a different direction now. I don't know. It's weird, right?
I've heard plenty of people say that they're not going to stop wearing the masks at all. Once even it's no longer a mandate to do so, they're just going to keep on wearing it because they're, the one thing that I have noticed is as frustrating as it is to kind of wear the mask. I'm like, oh, I haven't been sick all year, not even a cold. So there's something to it.
Yeah. Well, obviously, a friend of mine, a very close friend of mine who's a pediatrician said her practice has gone down. She hasn't really had that many patients come in because kids are not getting sick.
She's like, I've resorted to going over people and sneezing on their drinks. I just need some clients.
And in fact, they thought that it would be like a super whammy during the flu season, that we'd have both COVID and the flu. But nope, the flu actually went down. Rates of the flu, of influenza, went
dramatically
down
in the UK.
Greatly.
dramatically. Yeah.
Now, do you think that this could lead to potentially something not worse, but like, let's say cold season next year, everyone's not wearing a mask. Let's just nobody has to wear a mask anymore. Do you think that next year people are just going to be ravished with like the common cold because their bodies have grown like a year without having it?
Possibly. And in fact, recently when I read in one of the publications, they said that they're afraid that because we're constantly being bombarded by influenza, viruses, and that we, get natural immunity, even if we don't come down like full blown with the flu. But this year, because everybody's been, social distancing and wearing masks, that we haven't had contact with other variants of the flu, and perhaps we'll have a harsher flu season next year. So that is a concern.
Get your flu shots, kids.
Maybe I think people's behavior will probably change. They'll be like, okay, it's fall or like, close to winter, and I'm going to start wearing masks. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know if people are going to go directly just, without anything.
What I thought was going to happen was, and it kind of hasn't, I don't think, is that people will start getting a bit more loose with everything. I've got my vaccine, I'm fine, I'm okay. And, because we saw that with the masks, well, why should I wear a mask? It's not going to protect me. That was very much how it happened. So as soon as the vaccine happens, I expected people to be quite selfish. But I feel like this last year, people, we saw some terrible things at the beginning of the pandemic. The stockpiling of groceries and what have you. We did see some very selfish behaviour, but I feel like it's kind of chipped away at people, and we've seen better behaviours from people. The young people in Shrewsbury, in the UK, where I am, they have been, they've been a nightmare. They've been like meeting up and partying, and we have this beautiful park in the middle of Shrewsbury called the Quarry. And they meet up, they party, they leave their beer bottles everywhere, they get up to shenanigans, and it's happening every single night. I know, but that's because I
think that that's just part of youth. Like people think that it's not going to happen to them. Like you're at that point in time. I guess adolescence goes on to young adulthood, that they don't think that bad things will happen to them.
Yeah. I never once thought about death until I was in my 30s, and all of a sudden I was like, whoa, you mean I'm going to die someday? why you tell me now? Why didn't you tell me when I was 10? Like, we did. That's why we told you not to go head first into the quarry itself and, break your neck. I was like, I thought you were joking. Jeez. I thought it was all just, some of that parental advice that we never take. But yeah, we're all going to die. It's sad.
Just got to recap as well before people think that we all just sit drinking in an actual quarry. It's not. It's an old 17th century quarry that's now a beautiful park that's got a river running through it. And
beautiful.
So, Celina, tell us about you. So, how do you begin, and what were you like as a youngster compared to you now? Where does this journey into medicine start for you?
I'm actually pretty. When I was younger, I was pretty shy, and I think that I was kind of I looked pretty much the same. I always had really light blonde hair. I was interested in art, and in college I studied studio art as well as psychology and biology, and I did neuroscience there. And then I thought that I wanted to go into neuroscience. Thereafter, I actually moved to Europe, and I lived in Italy for a couple of years, and I worked in an internship through the University of Rome, doing neuroscience, like helping patients with like stroke injuries, people who had aphasia, they had, problems speaking. So I was helping kind of make a computer program for them. It was kind of like old fashioned though, in comparison to what we have now, drawing little stick figure things that, people had problems. So what was really funny is that I used to have to do flashcards with these patients who were, had aphasia. And a lot of them have to do with idiomatic expressions in Italian and things like prepositions like over and under and on top and whatever. And I mean, as a foreigner and non-native Italian speaker, I'd be like, oh my God, I would make that same mistake. I don't know how appropriate it is for me to be teaching
I have
you.
aphasia.
I mean, and later on, I was working on the Italian version of the mini mental status exam, which is a dementia exam. So I worked in a geriatric hospital. And meantime, because I didn't know what field I wanted to go into at that time, I also was going to the Academy of Decorative and Restorative Arts. You know, it was in the early 90s, and that was very hip. And so I was learning how to do like fake marbling and trompe l'oeil and all that kind of stuff. And then my parents were like, okay, so get a little serious. And so I decided that I wanted to apply to medical school. And I did some research in neuroscience here at UCLA, and I got into medical school. And at that time, medical school, there was a huge kind of push towards primary care. So even though I liked pathology, it just like I did well, and I really liked my course. And in fact, our second year is run by the pathology department. It just never dawned on me to go into it as a profession because everybody was going into like primary care fields like, you know, internal medicine or pediatrics or OBGYN. So I went into internal medicine, and I did a year of it here. And it just was just not a right fit for me. I liked seeing patients. I liked doing procedures, but internal medicine was kind of like algorithmic thinking, and it was not really a great fit. So I left internal medicine, and then I went to do research at USC in wound healing, like basic science research, which was interesting, but I didn't want to be a basic science researcher either. It's like, and you know what? It's interesting is like, you think that these things that you do in your life don't add up or help you later on in life, but it actually does. Because when I was taking my pathology boards, the things that I learned in the laboratory, like the basic science research laboratory, as well as during my internship in internal medicine, helped me greatly pass the boards. Like it wasn't just from my residency in pathology. I like took information from other places. I don't know how other people felt during those times because they didn't have exposure to that. So when I decided to do pathology, was a friend of the family's. He was a pathologist, and he said, why don't you just try pathology? Because I was kind of thinking I will go back to internal medicine or maybe family practice. Family practice kind of does a little bit of everything. And so I decided to go to a residency in pathology and just try it. And I actually fell in love with it. So, and on one of my first rotations was doing fine needle aspiration biopsies called FNA. And we would go into the clinics and do biopsies and then bring back the material and then process it and then read it. And I just loved it. I loved the fact that we could interact with patients because, pathologists are generally not interacting with patients. They interact with other doctors. In fact, there's a coined term called the doctor's doctor. Doctors come to pathologists to get their answers. So like anytime there's something wrong with you, let's say, your blood work, you send your blood that's been taken and it goes to the laboratory, which is run by the pathologist. And if there's anything wrong, it's the pathologist that's actually running the laboratory for your chemistry or CBC. In addition, if you have like the tumor that you had in your leg, the surgeon cuts it out, but he has no idea what it is. Like maybe the radiology report says it could be XYZ. And the surgeon says, well, in my experience, a tumor on the back of the leg is, ABC. But it actually has to go to the pathologist. The pathologist is the one who actually looks under the microscope and then makes the final diagnosis. Do you know what your final diagnosis was?
Last time it was what they call the benign tumor. But the funny thing was, I think they forgot.
That's just that's the category.
Yeah, it was so and so.
Here's the thing that took out my leg. What are you gonna say?
It's like saying hair. You know, like what color hair is like, oh, you have hair.
Exactly. Well, see, the thing is, like, this is a tricky situation. Not so much this, because this was really easygoing, but like, this isn't my first bout with foreign matter in my body. When I was 16, I had non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, which was a good time. Such a good time. I had a fused import box right here in my chest. Good times. Yeah. I got lots of chemotherapy, lots of radiation.
Malignancy. Yeah.
Yes. So,
you probably met your pathologist. I don't know, like you might have interacted with them because they sometimes get involved with patient care if you're there, you know, for a period of time.
Not too much. My head is usually like 1,000 different places. So like, as I was there getting my leg chopped open, I was filming, thinking about the podcast while thinking about going to hang out with my family later. So he could have been like, "Oh, I'm your pathologist, and this is what kind of cancer." But whatever you say.
I meant actually the when you had Hodgkin lymphoma.
I don't think so. I dealt with with my doctor primarily and his student, Dr. Oh God, you think I'd remember this considering I spent like every other day with it. Dr. Holman's was his name. Dr. Holman's.
Now, let's back up and use you as. Do you mind using you as an example?
Oh, please do.
So how did you know you had? What was the first step that made you think that you might have something wrong? So what happened?
I can tell you exactly because I remember it like the back of my hand. I actually remember this part because it involved me. So I was in North Carolina and I slept on my cousin Summer's floor and I woke up and I had a really stiff neck. I was like, ow, you know, I slept on the floor and I like worked my way down, trying to massage my neck and I got to like right here. And I was like, the fuck is that? And I was kind of like feeling 16. Maybe 15 going into 16. Mm-hmm. But yeah, then I felt that and I was like, hey, what's that all about? My mom's nurse. And she was like, and she had that look on her face like, oh, fuck. In the same exact point in time while being like, it seems fine. Probably nothing at all. And then like in more respect to them than anything else. Like my parents handled it like a champion. I, as you know, a parent now, I'm in constant fear of going through the same circumstances that they went through raising me because it's a scary thing. Like my kid gets too many nosebleeds like most kids do, especially because we have really harsh winters, really dry conditions. So, you know, he gets nosebleeds. It's a very, very common thing. But because I'm a parent, I'm like, no, it's something even worse. Let's go to the doctors. Let's figure this out. We got to deal with it. And they're like, it's a nosebleed. He's fine. Yeah. They're like, can you get it to stop bleeding? Because you've had
experience with it.
Yes. Right. Yeah, exactly. I'm always going to be glass half full or it's half full, even though I'm pessimistic.
So tell me what happened when you went to the doctor. What did they do
They biopsied it. They cut it out of me and they brought it to the pathologist. Did
they cut it out first or did they do a needle biopsy first?
I don't remember. I remember the surgery to get it taken out. That's like my major thing because I got this big old scar right going down my neck right there, which is a constant reminder of that. Right.
So what I do, what I do is I do a tiny needle biopsy. So it's smaller than the kind that they use to draw blood with. And there are different kinds of biopsies. There's an excisional biopsy where they take like a chunk of tissue. There's a core needle biopsy. They often use that for like prostates, and it looks, you can actually physically see it. It looks like little tiny worms of tissue, so you can actually see it. But when you do a fine needle aspiration, it is a type of core, but the cells are kind of dislodged. They're kind of so small that it's like cells in space. So it's like punching a straw through sand, and the sand particles are the cells. But once you release it, it kind of falls apart, right? You know, if you were to take the sand, core with, the straw and then release it, it would just kind of go onto the surface. So what I do for fine needle aspiration is I'm basically doing a little core biopsy, but the cells are not stuck together in a chunk of tissue. And what you had was an excision of the entire lymph node, which is what they do often especially for Hodgkin lymphoma. And probably what they think, what you do is you stratify your patients by all sorts of different things. So they say, oh, this is a 16-year-old. So that's within the window of this type of disease, like Hodgkin lymphoma and these other things. If you're younger, they might think something else, right? There are different types of diseases that happen in different age groups. So then your biopsy, the lymph node that was the surgery that was done, was taken to the laboratory, and then it's fixed, and then they're cut into slides, and then they're sent to a pathologist or someone who's has even more subspecialty called a hematopathologist. But we all pathologists learn all areas of pathology. And then if you want to really concentrate on that specific area of pathology, then you go and do a fellowship and get board certification. So that pathologist looks at this tissue, and then there's a specific way that Hodgkin lymphoma looks. And then you can do also other special studies to confirm it. And then they give that answer to your doctor. And then that doctor gives the answer to you. And that's how pathology usually works. So
now, when it comes to that, and I that's very, very interesting, actually. Would a pathologist be the one that would kind of like give the recommendation of how to take care of this, since they're so familiar with the cancer themselves, or does that go right back to the doctor, and then from there they make the diagnose? They don't make the diagnosis. That's what the pathologist does. They would make the recommendation for what treatment course they should take.
Yes. So the pathologist is the laboratory professional. It's the doctor's doctor. He's the one who actually diagnoses, and so our training is, although it's vast because we cover like everything, we have to know everything about everything, not just tumors. We have to know like chemistry, we have to know hormones, we have to know endocrinology, we have to know everything, because all the things that go to the laboratory are eventually analyzed by someone like me, and we need to be able to like understand where it fits in a patient, where, how do we help the doctor help the patient?
Yes.
The actual treatment goes back to, the treatment protocols are in the hands of your doctor or your oncologist. So they're the ones who, usually an oncologist, I'm assuming that the person who you were seeing was an oncologist, because a general doctor wouldn't have that much training in what the different types of medications there are. So an oncologist, they keep up with all the different changing chemotherapies and radiation therapies and all the things that change. Because as we go, because probably by the time that you were diagnosed when you were 16, things have changed greatly. Even since I was in residency, they've come out with like different ways of classifying lymphomas. They've renamed them, and they've said, as medicine moves forward, we're finding more and more about what characterizes specific tumors, and we're finding things that are even more microscopic than what we were using before. They're doing things like chromosomal analysis and gene analysis. So they look at tumors not just by the way they maybe look on the outside, or maybe the way that they interact with certain antibodies, but they also are starting to look at specific internal structures inside, the nucleus, like chromosomal differences. And so they're finding that specific tumors may not be categorized correctly because they're actually part of another categorization, and that maybe two tumors are more alike, even though they might not look alike to the eye.
And do you think this will lead to better treatment of them? Because chemotherapy is kind of like the fire extinguisher of it all, right? They just kind of douse it, and they hope that everything gets taken care of by essentially killing everything inside of you. Do you think that with the better classification of what they are, that'll lead to better treatments down the road?
No, it is already.
Oh, okay.
No. I'm just saying, like before, chemotherapy was like what you said, just a fire hose. And there's sometimes they still need to do that because they haven't found specific, molecular aberrations, like changes that they can target medicines. But they started, take breast cancer, for instance, because that's a very hot topic and people like to know about it. So this has been around for a while. But breast cancer, now when they analyze the breast cancer tissue, not only do they look at it under the microscope, but they send it for specific studies for hormone studies like estrogen and receptor and progesterone receptor, but also something called HER2/neu. So many times there's patients who have highly aggressive breast cancer tumors are hormone negative, but they're HER2/neu positive. And in the past, you'd have to give them a big gun of a fire hose chemotherapy, and a lot of them suffered. But now there's a specific medication that is a HER2/neu medication. It's an anti-HER2/neu. So those patients are stratified out. They're given that specific medication, and their cancer is completely killed and knocked dead.
Wow.
Wow. So, and they're starting to look at that with, and you've seen it on TV for like lung cancer, Keytruda. So yes. Keytruda is one of these chemotherapies. They're a little bit different than your usual chemotherapy. It's not one of these just like it kills everything. It is targeting specific mutations that lung cancer has. And in fact, as a pathologist, now we have to look at every lung cancer. Before you would say, okay, lung cancer. Yes. And then afterwards you would have to distinguish small cell lung cancer versus non-small cell lung
cancer. That's what Ben Fuchs said on the show last week. He said you can't just say lung cancer anymore, because that's just like saying a car rather than a make of a car, or
you can say lung cancer because you're saying it's coming from the lungs. But lung cancer, there's a lot of different types of lung cancer. Mm-hmm. And so it used to be that you would say small cell lung cancer and then non-small cell lung cancer. And then you would say, okay, the stratification from non-small cell lung cancer is adenocarcinoma and squamous cell carcinoma. And now there's a stratification even further for adenocarcinoma because of those specific mutation, EGFR. There's a bunch of other ones because they're targeting those mutations with medications.
So we've made so much advancement, especially in the last 20 years with taking care of people with cancer. How come? I mean, and I don't mean it's like how come? I have no understanding for it. How come we're so good at treating certain things, but things like pancreatic cancer, we're still like, oof, like once you hear that, you're like, oh, I'm so sorry.
Because it's silent.
Oh, really? Is because usually it's just so far advanced by the time that we find out that it's too late to do anything. So is there something that can be done nowadays for pancreatic if you catch it early enough? Or is it still? I guess.
I mean, I don't, like I said, I'm not a oncologist. No. I'm not a surgeon, but there are certain types of pancreatic cancer. Like I said, the small cell versus non-small cell. So like the kind that Steve Jobs had is similar to small cell. It was a neuroendocrine cancer, and those are usually treated whether they're found all over the body. So neuroendocrine tumors are found anywhere where you have endocrine tissue. So it could be in the thyroid, it could be in your pancreas, it could be found in your lungs, So that's usually treated with chemotherapy because they're kind of fast growing tumors that respond to chemotherapy. But then the other types of cancer that's found in the pancreas is usually adenocarcinoma. That's like the most common. And those are made up of the glands of the pancreas. And sometimes you can pick up tumors that are small and you get it excised. I don't know if they're sensitive to chemotherapy. I don't know anything more about the treatment except for the surgical part of it, because as a pathologist, we would get these big, surgical specimens. They would take out the entire pancreas and hook up the small intestine to they would do all. That's called a Whipple. It's a huge surgery. And so right now there's just not really good treatment for advanced, adenocarcinoma. Even with lung cancer, you hear of women who've never smoked in their life and they have, lung cancer, and there's not really the, run-of-the-mill adenocarcinomas that are aggressive don't do well with anything other than cutting it out.
Gotcha. So that's why certain cancer treatments are, so like light years ahead. And then some of them are just, still back in the 80s. We're like, well, this is the only way we know how to take care of it. So this is what we do.
Yeah. I mean, there's been a lot of advancement in other other, like I said, all these other like targeted therapies where we didn't have that, we didn't know about it, and they keep doing, they keep following them, like sarcomas, soft tissue tumors. It used to be they didn't respond to anything. You just had to cut them out, and a lot of times they came back, and but now they're finding molecular problems, chromosomal problems, and they're targeting therapy towards that. So it's getting better and better.
So fascinating. I love that you can just get inside it and be like, instead of like nuking the thing, let's just poison it, or let's
No, but there's advancement on all fronts. It's not just let's connect what's going on now with like the vaccine technology. So right now we have the mRNA vaccine, and they're trying to use that to put the spike protein into our cells so that we can produce antibodies to the spike protein for coronavirus, for SARS-CoV-2. But that kind of method can be translated to maybe cancer therapy. Maybe down the line they might be using these kinds of vectors to target certain cancers and not affect the other cells around them, like kind of a targeted chemotherapy.
Now, I remember hearing something a while back, and please take it for what it is, as a dude who is way too busy for himself, that heard something where I was like, oh, that's interesting, and I never paid attention to it again. I heard something about them trying to manipulate like different diseases to help fight cancer. Like I think they were saying at one point they wanted to use like the HIV virus to help kind of like piggyback to fight cancer. Do you know anything about that? Could you explain that to somebody like me who has no idea what he's talking about?
I don't know. I'm not like an expert on this either.
In the room, you have the most expertise out of both of us. You could literally tell me it's magic, and I'm like, totally. She said it's magic. It's what it is.
Basically, they're using it as a vector. Like a way of injecting in some way of targeting therapy to the cancer cells, similar to like the vaccine. They wouldn't be using HIV, but they would use something called a retrovirus. So HIV is in the class of viruses called retroviruses, and that's how it's the way that they replicate. That's the way that they get their DNA, not DNA, their RNA actually, because they're viruses, read and then replicated. So like when let's go back into like your biochemistry or biological sciences, the way that the cells work, like in the nucleus, is our DNA, and the way that our cells make things like proteins is the DNA has like a blueprint of a specific protein. Let's say it's a hormone, it's a testosterone or something like that. That DNA molecule codes for a specific part of the testosterone molecule. So let's say your body wants to make, testosterone. And what happens is it gets translated, that let's say it's a language that, that we wouldn't understand, but it fits together in sets of 3. And the DNA is the blueprint. It gets copied, let's say like a Xerox copy, and that's kind of maybe the backwards, like a backwards Xerox copy that gets sent outside of the nucleus. That Xerox copy, which is the opposite, then gets copied again the other way and forms little amino acids that then get hooked up, then become a protein, then they get twisted and they get packaged. And once they're packaged, they go out of the cell and it's now the hormone. So that's basically kind of layman's term of how our DNA makes things for our bodies. So the way viruses work is they come in, they are not alive. So they don't have, all they have is just a section of blueprint. They don't have anything else. They don't have like all the machinery that our cells have. So they infect our cells. They become like invasion of the body snatchers and use, our machinery to make more copies of themselves. And then when there's so many copies of themselves inside the cell, your cell bursts, dies because it's burst. It's basically like blowing up a balloon or, filling it with water. It bursts and all the copies of the virus come out and infect all the surrounding cells. And that's how it works.
Amazing.
See, thank you for that, because I'm what you would call the layman's layman. So, like, literally,
did you understand it? I mean, was it?
Oh, I did. I absolutely did. But I mean, like, I appreciate you actually being like, all right, well, let me think about how I can explain this to a dude who just barely said he has barely enough time to understand that we don't use HIV for anything. That's just me.
Their viruses are categorized like by the way that they get copied. So some are just regular and some are retroviral. So they go backwards.
See, Alex, I wish we would have put more thought process into this, because then I would have been like, Alex, have my biopsy video ready at the thing. I'm gonna have Dr. Celina critique and tell me if you did a good job.
She's not John Madden. She's not doing commentary.
Let's get back to what you need to do, like just as an advocate for yourself, like as a patient, is you need to ask your doctor for the pathology report on your leg tumor, and you need to keep a copy of it. And, make a file for yourself. So everybody should really have a file of their health, like their health records. And so that if you ever need to go, let's say, God forbid, you had a malignant tumor or, something else, because sometimes what happens is people, if they're young, they've been, you had chemotherapy or radiation therapy, you might get some other type of tumor from the chemotherapy and radiation therapy.
Yes, they always have said that they're concerned for my future well-being, just because the chemotherapy they used, I guess, is not really good for the heart. And also they also were concerned with me being sterile. It was such a weird conversation to have, because my dad and the doctors were like, "You should probably give a sample," and I'm like, "What? Sample of what? I already gave a sample, but biopsy." He's like, "No, a sample." And I was like, I'm not going to think of having kids. I was 16 at the time. And then I had 3 kids with my wife, and I showed up and I was like, look at these. Who's sterile? In your face. And I walked out. He's like, I'm so glad I saved your life. You asshole.
They want to make sure, especially if you're getting radiated, let's say the tumor was not up here, but was down here. A lot of, testicular cancer, that's what they do. They ask, because it's going to be removed.
Oh, of course. You first. No. I'm just bullshitting
this. I've loved this because you've needed this for a long time, Tom. I've been dying to get someone like you, Celina, on the show to give Tom peace of mind, give him a good backing too. But I've got to say this before, like, one of the most brilliant people on the planet, I think, is Brian Cox. And not because he's clever, not because he knows the inner workings of the universe, and it's how he can simply explain it. He could take a stick and a bucket and be in a sunny place, but like, here's how the universe works, boom. And that's what you do, Celina. You take these complicated ideas and you explain them in a simple way that we can understand, and that's really important, I think.
I'm glad. Really. I thank you.
So here's your stick, and you can now explain the rest of DNA for us, please.
Well, I'm not a biochemist. It's just general background knowledge you have to kind of get through medical school with.
That was I need to be better about keeping track of my stuff, just for the sheer fact that, like, it'd be better to I'll just tell you. I'll send you messages, Alex. I'm like, so this is what the doctor said. Remind me like 10 years when it comes back up again, please.
So one of the things that I was talking about was, being an advocate, being your own healthcare advocate. And so one of the things that's important, like we touched upon, is, making a folder for yourself with all of your medical records, because you may need to go back to it. And sometimes your doctors, or you switch doctors, that will say, I need, records, and it takes forever to get records from other places, or you've moved or whatever. So it's smart to have your own file, medical records in your home. Secondly, it's a good idea if you're going to a doctor for something serious or that you want to explore with someone, because they can sometimes not only just be your support, but also be your eyes and ears. Often you go in and what the doctor is telling you is like Lucy from the Peanuts. It's like, wah, 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 wah. You don't remember anything that's happened because you are having your own conversation in your head. And in fact, there's a story that my mentor, who's a pathologist, told me. He said he had a friend who was an ophthalmologist who is also a doctor, and he had something on his lungs. So he asked Richard to go in with him to the doctor's office. And the doctor said, I'm sorry to tell you, but you have stage 3 lung cancer. It's spread everywhere. And, you have 6 months to live. I don't know something to that extent. And they left the doctor's office and his friend turned to him and said, Richard, is it bad?
Wow.
So he was intelligent enough to understand all the jargon, but he couldn't hear it. So I think that when you're hearing something that's stressful, or you're going under, if you're going to experience something that might be stressful to you, it might not be anything. It's wise to bring someone with you, and to maybe have them have like a piece of paper and a pencil and write down what the doctor has said, so that you can go back when you're calmer and look at your notes.
I would say it also goes the other way around as well. Like that's the reason that you have someone being there to pay attention. Same exact reason that like a parent is there for a kid, because we're hyper vigilant at that point and we want to hear everything. Like, so if they even said something, like I guess it can be a little bad because they might have said something and you're trying to pay attention so hard that you're like, they said this. No, they said this. You sure about they said this? I'm pretty sure they did, but it's also goes back to that because it's such a stressful situation. You're not calm to be able to take it all in. You might mishear or something as well. So I'm
sure there's an element of instant denial as well. Fuck off.
Yeah.
Really? I don't believe so. I'm healthy. I don't smoke. What's going on? What
do you mean?
So the patients that see me, they're all worried they have cancer. I mean, most of the time they don't have cancer, but they're all worried. And so I always tell my assistant, whoever is working with me in my office, to just not take it personally and to be cognizant or like sensitive to the fact that people are scared. And, different people deal with, fear differently. Some people are weepy. Some people are stoic. Some people are nasty. Some people, I've had people throw up on me. I've had people faint on me. I've had the run of them, everything, the whole gamut. And so I like to be as reassuring as possible and as sensitive as possible, to different people, because to their reaction, because I know that they're scared when they come to see me. But at the end, like after the biopsy is done, I always give them written instructions, because then they can take it home and then they can read it, like the aftercare instructions, like, keep it clean and dry or whatnot. So they don't have to keep it all in their head. And because also they're not thinking, they're not, they have a different conversation in their head. And they're having something else going on.
You first.
I wanted to ask you as well, just to change gears a little bit, I guess, but I wanted to ask you, what's the difference between the life down a microscope and out in the real world? Because I imagine when you're looking down at a microscope, or when you're watching those little creatures swimming around and you're doing your work, that you must have to block the outside world out, right? It must be a completely different universe.
It is different. Most pathologists work in isolation. They usually work in a large laboratory, or a laboratory that's attached to a hospital or some kind of academic center. They're usually sequestered away from the hustle and bustle of the medical center or the hospital. And so it is kind of looking at things in isolation. It's, and I'm talking about anatomic pathology. So pathology is split into 2 fields, anatomic and clinical. In Europe, it's actually 2 separate, totally totally different fields. But in America, you usually study both anatomic and clinical. Clinical is the laboratory, like all things that are liquid, like blood samples and chemistries and things like that. And anatomic is tissue. Like, you get your appendix taken out, or a pap smear, or urine cytology, or whatever it is. And so most pathologists are not fortunate enough to have interaction with the outside world as much. I find that what I do is that I'm lucky that I get to do that, because, and this is what I really like about my profession and my job. There's actually about a dozen people like me in the entire United States, like with a standalone FNA clinic. There's not that many people. In fact, when I first started out and I would go to like pathology meetings, I'd be like, what? You're doing what? Because you're usually attached to some larger institution or academic setting or large laboratory like Quest or something like that. So normally it's books and pictures, it's visual, it's kind of knowledge. But the real role of being a pathologist is to really help the patient. And you help the patient by helping their referring doctor find the answers. And I think that a lot of pathologists, because they don't have that connection, I mean, I learned it as an internist, like when I did internal medicine, I remember I would send things off to pathology and I'd be like, why is it taking so long? Why? I like, it's 2 days and I want to know whether my patient has, cancer or whatever. You don't quite understand what's happening behind the curtain. And as a pathologist, you don't understand what you're doing. You sometimes get lost. You can't see the forest through the trees because you're so focused in it's kind of academic. It's a very academic, scientific world that you're in. And I kind of bridge both worlds. I'm like I have one leg straddled in the clinical world and one leg straddled in the laboratory world, because I get to see the patients, I get to talk to them, I get to do a mini history and physical exam, I get to see real time what their lesion looks like under ultrasound, and now so it's all kind of it all blends together for me, which helps incredibly with my diagnostic, inquiry. As a pathologist, lots of times you get the tissue and all you have on the requisition form, because the surgeons or the doctors don't have time to fill anything out, is 34-year-old white male with lump for 2 months and nothing else. And if you're lucky enough to have a system in your, let's say you're part of a hospital system, you can go through their notes. That also takes a lot of time. A lot of times the doctors don't make good notes. That's very cursory and it doesn't answer your questions, and you can't ask the patient that. So you're just kind of looking at a slice of time and a piece of tissue, and you kind of have to make your best kind of estimate. It's not an estimate, but it's this is what it looks like, and I think it's like this. Whereas for me, I'm taking all the clues all the time. So even when the patient walks in, I'm taking kind of a mental note of it starts seriously from the minute they walk into the door and I see them. And it's part of what I did as training for autopsies, like in forensic medicine. The first thing you do when you do an autopsy is called an external exam. So you look around the body and you see what the body looks like from the outside before you start going in and doing the autopsy part and cutting into the body. So the minute that a patient walks in, I am observing the patient. Do they look this? Do they look that? Do they, is their nodule large? Is it hurting their head? Is it, whatever it is. Then when the patient talks to me, and I'm doing a history and physical, I'm not only asking pointed questions that I need to know about, but sometimes their specific answers to things help give me a hint as to what I'm dealing with, even before I've even seen it, on ultrasound, before I can categorize, what's called a differential diagnosis, like a list of things. What could this be? And then I get to examine the patient. I get to see it with ultrasound. And the ultrasound also gives me another clue as to, oh, this could be this or that. Let's say it looks completely cystic. Well, if it's completely cystic, then it's a totally different category of tumor. And then I do the biopsy. And when I'm doing the biopsy itself, I also am paying attention because the feel of the needle into the tumor has its own specific clue as to what it could be. So let's say a breast biopsy. If I feel that it's like crunchy, like it's hard and crunchy, I'm concerned. But if it passes through like it's rubber or whatever, then I'm not as concerned, right? So
what would
these are
hard
all
and crunchy signify? If it was hard and crunchy, what would that signify?
You'd be worried about cancer.
Okay, because if it was just nodule, it could be anything.
In this instance. So it's for each body part, there are specific clues as to what it looks like. And then when I smear it onto the slide, let's say I'm doing a parotid tumor. If I smear it onto the slide and it feels gritty, then I know it's this type of tumor. Or if I smear it onto the slide and it looks brown and oily, I know it looks like another, like crankcase oil. That's a different type of tumor. But these are both benign tumors, but I already know. And then I stain it immediately at the side of the patient. Like I have a little stain, like a quick stain. And I can look and see what type of material I have. So let's say it's like a lymphoma. Let's say it was a tumor on your neck. Yep. And the doctors thought it was a cancer. And I do the immediate assessment by the patient still there. I do a little quick stain. I look at it and it looks like lymphocytes, part of lymphoma. Then I know I have to go back, send material in a special medium for ruling out lymphoma. If you had gone to someone else, they would just send it to the lab. The lab would say, oh, it looks like lymphocytes, go back, send it for lymphoma workup. And the patient would have to go back and do it. But I'm doing all of this at the same time. And so when I'm looking and doing things, it's like the outside world, which is like the patient's world, or is coming in as I'm doing the visit. It's like it's multifactorial. And I also understand my role as a pathologist. Like I'm not there to be like erudite and intellectual about what I see. Like a lot of pathologists love to look at cool tumors. It's horrible. It's attached to another it's attached to a person, but we're, like I said, mostly sequestered, and the things that look cool to us are usually pretty horrific for the patient. And so there is that kind of detachment, like you don't kind of interact with the patients. So it is different as, a laboratory professional. I'm not saying that they're cold-hearted, but it's just, it's just a different world.
It's like going through a rainforest and seeing a brand new, exciting, exotic animal, isn't it?
Right. Yeah.
You're not looking down this thing and going, "Oh, this dude's fucked." You're going, "Oh my god, look how amazing this is!" Like you're going, "Wow, look."
Because it is. I mean, surgical pathology or anatomic pathology it's all about pattern recognition. When I was in medical school, the chief of pathology used to. This was the time when we didn't have PowerPoint; it was slides. And nice. He would show us slides of what he was talking about, and interspersed in the slides would be pictures of iconic places around the world. And so it'd be like the Eiffel Tower or the Taj Mahal or, different places. And so at the end, he would say, okay, so how did you know that it was the Taj Mahal? How many of you have been there? And none of us would raise our hand. And he would say, well, you recognize it. It's pattern recognition. You know that that's the Taj Mahal or that's the Eiffel Tower. And it's the same thing with anatomic pathology. You have to be able to recognize certain patterns under the microscope that mean X, Y, and Z. And that's part. It's not just looking at something. It's also integrating what something looks like and what it means, like intellectually as well. So it's not just picking a picture. It's also the background medical information that you have from your residency training and your medical school training. So
I like
was
the
that
fact
long-winded?
that no, not at all. It's very important. No, it's very informative, and I love people that are full of information because it's I don't know anything about any of this. The most intrinsic knowledge I have is, of course, I went through having cancer, but like at the time, like it wasn't very well explained to me. I was just some kid, and I could barely understand girls, let alone the advancements that they were or anything they were trying to do to my body. So when you break it down to me as an adult, I really appreciate the fact that you're doing so because I'm like, all right, cool. Now I actually have a little bit firmer grasp on like what it takes and like what a pathologist actually do. And I actually also liked your comparison to being behind the curtain, because I don't know if you've ever watched Scrubs. Have you ever seen that show, Scrubs?
I love Scrubs.
Okay, very good. So the pathologist in Scrubs.
Let me tell you this. So when I was in medical school, I was so miserable. I mean, it's like I was so miserable, and all the people I knew in med school would watch ER and all those shows and whatnot.
We're all George Clooney.
Could not watch it. I was watching the X-Files. That was my escape.
Yes.
And then
Dr. Celina, we just became best friends. You and me, man.
I had to watch X-Files, nothing medical. But after residency, after my internship, actually, Scrubs became popular. And I was like, oh my God, this is exactly what happens. People don't realize this is the experience of a resident. I loved it. There must have a resident, like someone medical writing these things, because it was exactly like the things the crazy things that you think happen, like, oh, that can't happen. Like the episode with he opens his trunk and there's all this toilet paper and butterscotch pudding. Yes. I'm like, oh yes.
That's true. We're all poor. We're going through medical school. It's because Bill Lawrence's best friend was actually Dr. JD. JD is based off a real person, and Bill Lawrence went to college with him. And he'd come home talking about light bulbs in people's buttholes and things along those lines. And so he kind of helped write the show.
I didn't know.
Yeah, it's phenomenal. I like every doctor I've ever spoken to. They're like, I really like Scrubs because it really kind of like it's brilliant. And the pathologist in there, everyone's afraid of the pathologist because he's supposed to be some hard ass. And they do like a really cool Wizard of Oz analogy where he pulled up and he was like the nicest. He was Dr. Bob. He's like, I'm Dr. Bob. He's like, you're Dr. Bob. He's like, yeah. And he's like, I want you to take a look at this blood sample again. He's like, well, is it because you think I made a mistake or because you hope I made a mistake? He's like, I hope you made a mistake. And it involved Brendan Fraser, Dr. Cox's brother-in-law, with his what do you have? What do you have? He had the blood cancer. He had blood cancer. What is that?
Well, leukemia.
There you go. Thank you. Leukemia. Yeah. He played Jordan's brother.
I have to go back and look at it because I didn't see all the episodes, but I mean, there's some. I mean, it's just like the things that happened. I'm like, oh my God, this must have like when I would talk to people who weren't in medicine, they'd be like, no, that didn't really happen. I'm like, oh yeah.
Bullshit, it didn't happen. Oh, it totally happened. I got a truck full of toilet paper right now, man. Don't you lie to me.
I feel like this has been I'm so privileged to have spoken to you. I really do feel like that because
thank you.
I think you're just fantastic at the way of explaining some of the most complex issues that we think about. You know, my closest thing when I think about going inside the body, I think of Rick and Morty, that episode where he makes like Jurassic Park inside the body, and like, oh my God, it's gonorrhea, and it's got all these monsters. That's how I think. So you've done a great service today.
So well. We were doing so well. And you brought up Anatomy Park to Dr. Celina. Hi, Dr. Celina. Let's go back to X-Files. Anyways, Mulder and Scully are phenomenal.
And I used to watch it, and I was like, and now I've become Scully. I loved how she was. Come over.
Yes. You are Scully. I like this a lot. I'm going to call you when I have a problem. I'll be like, there's some cryptobiology I need you to take a look at. You're like, but Tom, I don't know. I'm like, no, let's go. Plane ride. Scully's the best. And they're doing a revival, which is amazing.
Really?
Yeah. Even though the last revival didn't do too hot. But that's fine though, because X-Files is fucking phenomenal. Dude, we are out of time completely.
Yes,
we are past the out of time. Yes, we are.
How can people keep in touch with what you're doing?
How can I support what you're doing?
Yeah.
So I'm not as adept at social media, but I do have a Facebook page, an Instagram page. And you can also find me at my website, www.drnadelman.com. I was going to give you my email.
Don't do that. Don't do that. You'll get all sorts of questions from rude people. Be like, can you look at this picture of my lump?
Contact page right there. I could, follow me on Instagram. It's Dr. Cancer Answer. And yeah.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
It's good.
Yeah.
It's clever.
Follow me on Instagram and YouTube as well. I guess that's basically it. I mean, nice. I've done, some things, but I'm working on it. It's a work in progress. Of course.
I feel like once I get my prognosis and all that stuff, I'm gonna have to bring you back on. Like, all right, Dr. Celina, now you need to break this down for me exactly what's wrong with me. Yeah,
sure.
Yeah.
Get your final diagnosis and send it to me. Sure, why not? Call me up.
No, you're a medical professional, for God's sakes. I'm gonna have to send you a check with it, not because you asked for it, but because I feel obligated to. You don't go to med school for free. That stuff costs money.
It's not a problem, really. It's not a problem.
I also want to say a huge thank you to Jackie Jordan and the guys at TV Guestbert for setting this up. This has been, honestly, I feel like we've learned so much. Thank you. And the listeners will have appreciated this, I'm sure, as well. Before we get out of here, I want to talk about something that I'm going to be doing in September to fight cancer, okay?
Yes.
This is what we're doing. This is going to be the 24-hour podcast challenge, which I'm going to be doing from 9 a.m. on the 29th of September right through to the 30th of September. 24 hours like this, but live instead of pre-recorded, non-stop for 24 hours. I'm going to do 12 hours of the Shrewsbury Biscuit podcast, which is my local show that I do, and 12 hours of USUK. So we're going to be getting 12 guests from one show, 12 guests for the other, and we're going to try and raise some money for Lingen Davis, who are a local charity support charity.
What's it called?
It's called Lingen Davis, and they're based in Shrewsbury, and they raise money to get equipment for treatment for all sorts. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and get Lingen Davis on our show to explain what they do. They're fantastic. The idea of this is because I picked up a microphone like 4 years ago and started doing this thing. And I wanted to show people that with a voice and a microphone, you can do amazing things. So let's all the resources we got from around the world, let's gather them up and funnel them into one place, which will be Lingen Davis. So that's what we're going to be doing. I'm really excited about it. So anybody that's listening, if you want to help us with donations that we can auction off, or if there are guests out there that want to come on or whatever, please get in touch with us. You can get in touch with us via our website, Tom.
Oh my God, we have a website. Hey guys, we have a website, USUKnetwork.com, where you can find all of our wonderful shows. That's 4 Quattro shows. We have What's the Difference with Al and Tom, where we bring on amazing guests like Dr. Celina here, and we just kind of bullshit for an hour, and then half an hour into it, we just kind of geek out. Me and Alex catch up for the weeks. We have the USUK Chronicles with Jamie Westwood and Tom Stevens. They also do a similar thing. They brought on some amazing guests, but it's a completely different setup and different guys. And they're both British guys. We have an American here. We have we already have What's the Difference. We have Wednesday Night Live, which is basically our chat down at the pub. We get our good team members that USUK to get together every Wednesday, and we just kind of do free-flowing conversation about whatever we want to talk about, whether it's movies, politics, whatever is going on the week we talk about. And there's also Weekly Bazaar with Tom Stevens and
there is, but it's gone for a few weeks now. I've quit the Weekly Bazaar. I've now got a radio show that I need to put all my effort in to. So they will be back with Tom Stevens and David Raby. But for now, it's gone. So say goodbye to the Weekly Bazaar. I'd love to carry on,
but you can't. That's okay. Yeah. And all of these things are brought to you, including the website, by our good friends over at weborchard.com. Hey guys, weborchard.com, they are a website building business. That's their job. They are going to do it phenomenally for you. If you look at usuknetwork.com, go there first. And you like what they did for our webpage, they can make the same thing for you. If you sell things on Etsy, if you are an information page, whatever it is, you need a bigger online presence, and that's what a website will do for you. A lot of programs will be like, you can build your own website. You don't have time for that. Don't kid yourself. We're all adults and we got real responsibilities. So why not just pay somebody to do it for you? Because they're going to do a better job than you could anyways. I don't mean to be shitty about it, but it's true. If they're like, hey, Tom, build a website for me, I'd be like, I could smash 2 rocks and make a website.
I've got Paint on Microsoft. I can do it.
I can do it. I can star wipe a couple things. But no, I don't. I trust people like Pete White over at webwatch.com to do it for me better than I could. So you guys should definitely reach out to them and say, hey, please build me a website. Drop our name. Maybe they'll do it for you better than us, but not too much better because I like our webpage. So yeah, that's our webpage. Yeah. Yeah.
Well done.
Well,
Dr. Celina Nadelman, thank you so much for joining us. I've really enjoyed speaking to you.
I did too.
Fantastic. Well,
don't lie to him.
No, really.
I'll play our outro. If you want to stay behind so we can say goodbye properly, we will do. But here is our outro. Let's go. Which one is it? Right. There we go.
That one.
Thank you very much for joining us, guys. Catch us next week. When it comes to culture either side of the Atlantic, no one does it better. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you USUK's What's the Difference podcast with Alex Whiteley and Tom Bruno.